Hello and welcome to the Enlightenment podcast. Here we will be talking to two Enlightenment philosophers, Thomas Jefferson and Voltaire. Our first topic of discussion will be views on women. Thomas, would you like to start us off on this discussion?
I'd love to. I have very strong opinions on this. I strongly believe that the only purpose of women in society is to serve their husband. There's no need for them to have the right to vote or have a good education. They just need to have household jobs and childbearing. That's all that matters.
I personally, Voltaire, could not agree more. I believe that women were inferior to men, and they only had one purpose in life, and that was their beauty. They had no intellectual capacity at all. In fact, I wrote a book, and it was called Candid, and all the women were ranked on their beauty, and they had no intellectual capacity. The only purpose of them in the book was for them to be other people's lovers and for them to raise children. All right. Next topic of discussion. What is everyone's view on government? What type of government should we have?
I think it is very important for the people to have a say in government matters, and we should limit the federal government due to my strict interpretation of the Constitution.
I personally believe that we should have a constitutional monarchy. I don't believe in democracy because it propagates the idiocy of the masses. That's a direct quote that I have said before. The common people are too ill-educated and selfish to make wise decisions. So if they had a say in the government, it would lead to the downfall of our nation. I wanted everyone to be treated well and fairly, so the common people will have rights, but I do not believe that they should have any political power. Personally, I believe the main role of the government was to protect liberties of the people. Some examples of those liberties would be religious liberty, freedom of press, and the abolition of feudal privileges. So basically, I just want to protect human rights. Thomas, what do you think the proper role of the government is?
My sheet isn't loading.
You know what? I'll just keep talking. It's fine. I think the king should have limited power because all the power should not rest in one people, and he should be advised by an oligarchy of wise philosophers. Another reason why I disagree with democracy is because I believe a country needs to be led by a strong and wise king. So therefore, placing the power in the common people, there'd be unwise decisions being made. So overall, the king should be improving the power and wealth of the country as a whole. All right, let's move on to our next topic, because I can't take this heated debate, because I cannot believe you like democracy. Let's talk about the role of religion in society, because I just can't talk about this anymore.
Well, religion was always a topic I was very passionate about. I took it very seriously and studied many different kinds. I mean, I also can be a little confusing, as I have said before that I like to keep religion private and it should be a matter between man and God. But I also enjoy discussing it publicly, as I am right now.
That's really nice. What religion are you personally, Thomas?
I am a Christian, but most would say I have some unorthodox views.
That's really nice. I believe in religious tolerance, but also I kind of contradict myself. I believe that everyone should have the right to practice any religion they want. But I'm also very critical towards Christians, Jews, and Islam, and Muslim people. Personally, I love the Hindus. I am a vegetarian, and I very, very, very strongly believe in animal rights. Hindus were incapable of hurting others, and they also protect animal rights, which I really appreciate. Personally, I follow the religion Deism. That, in case anyone here does not know what that means, I believe in a God, but I don't believe that he was personally involved in other people's lives like Christians believe. And I think that there is a big separation of church and state. Religion should not play any role whatsoever in the government.
I agree with that. As you could see when I drafted the Virginia Act for Establishing Religious Freedom.
That sounds really good. Let's move on to our next topic, capital punishment. So let's start with Voltaire on this one. What are your ideas on capital punishment? Well, thank you for asking. I have, personally, I believe that capital punishment is not necessary at all. Hanging a man after he does something wrong does no good for the society whatsoever. Punishments were invented to help society and benefit the other citizens, and this does the exact opposite. The death penalty does not help in any sort of way.
Well, Jefferson, proposed the concept of penitentiary, which, if you do not know, it means that criminals could earn their way back into society through hard labor instead of serving the set amount of time due. And I personally do believe that citizens use up a social contract, per se, to live, but I believe in the death penalty under two conditions. If there was a murder or treason against one's country, then I do believe that the death penalty is well suited.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Jefferson. Okay? For me, I believe that the proper punishment for criminals is often taken out of proportion, and the death penalty is a prime example of that. I think that smaller punishments would be more effective and keep the crime levels down. If you have a big punishment, then people are more likely to just commit another crime in order to avoid the punishment due to their first crime. So, in theory, if you have a smaller punishment, then people will take the punishment and not commit another crime and learn from their lesson instead of committing more crimes to avoid the punishment.
Well, I stick with my opinion, and you can blame my point of views on Caesar Beccaria, who was an Italian humanitarian who influenced many of my views on capital.
Okay, this is way too heated. I don't want to get upset because I am a peaceful person. So what's the next topic, our talk show host? Our next topic is views on slavery. Let's hope that y'all agree on this one. Jefferson, how about you start us off?
Well, this is a very controversial topic for me, just because I have a lot of contradicting statements. As you might know, I have written "All men are equal," but it has been suspected that I have also written that black people are inferior to white people, and I might have enslaved over 600 people through my lifetime.
I think that that is horrible. I hate slavery. It should not be a thing. We need to abolish it right now. The Bible says that all humans have a common origin. And would you be that cruel to your relatives? I don't think so. You're contradicting yourselves. If all men have equal rights, then why are you enslaving other people? I am very, very opposed to the slave trade. I cannot believe you would do that.
Well, I do feel the need for the abolishment, but it's also kind of difficult for me to want to abolish it since I also am a racist.
Oh, okay. You know what? I may disagree with you, but as I have famously quoted, I disapprove of what you say, but will defend it to the death your right to say it. All right. Let's move on to another topic. I don't want to speak about this anymore. Okay. Next topic. Let's discuss human nature opinions. Thomas, let's just keep starting off with you. You may start.
Okay, well, I am a very strong believer in the progressive nature of morality, and I'd like to think that I have an optimistic view of nature, of humanity, and given ability. And this optimistic faith has guaranteed the future for the United States, in my humble opinion.
Personally, me, being Voltaire, I believe that people naturally and, I might even say blindly follow someone who has a good reputation. So they don't care if they're making the right decisions or not, but since they're following them, since they seem to have a good reputation and high power, they will follow them blindly and do whatever they say. This is another reason why I think we should have a constitutional monarchy with one strong king, because if everyone is going to follow one person, then we might as well make that one person very strong and wise leader.
I strongly, very strongly disagree, because I do think that all people have some part of them that's innately good, and they do not want to do evil. And for those reasons, I do believe that people, citizens, should have a say in the government. But let's not go back to that topic.
All right, we will move on. Now we will move on to our last topic of today's podcast. So let's make it a good one. That's so exciting. Okay, let's talk about views on economics. Let's switch things up. Voltaire, how about you start with this one? I'd be delighted to. So, I personally believe that pursuit of a private vice, an example would be greed, leads to economic prosperity. So therefore, there should be competition in the economy in order for it to prosper and grow. I believe, and I quote, "The comfort of the rich depended on the discomfort of the poor," end quote. I'm very skeptical of the traditional economic systems because I don't believe that it will work.
Well, I am going to have to slightly agree with you on that, but not really at the same time. In my opinion, I think that the economy should be largely based on agriculture rather than the government boost. For example, let me give you a few examples of mine. So I have established different enterprises. For example, the first one being a nail-making enterprise. Maybe you've heard of it. Well, you might have not, because although it was first very profitable and I thought my idea was very brilliant, it did not end well, considering British competition could manufacture these goods at a faster rate with their factories and equipment, so they could sell it for a cheaper price, ultimately resulting in the downfall of my enterprise.
All right, I guess that's enough for the Enlightenment podcast today. We're filming a